Selamat pagi semuanya. Apa kabar? Good.
Baik.
Baik.
Firstly, I would like to acknowledge that I'm in Nipalina, Lutruwita, which is Hobart, Tasmania. And I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land on which I am, which is the Muanina people. The Tasmanian Aboriginal people are some of the most resilient people in the world. And I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. What a thrill to be here today. Thanks so much, Brendan. It's exciting to see these beautiful faces again from Tromarama, Phoebe, Herbert and Rudy, and to have this conversation around this very important artwork. I think it's important, and I think we have to talk about what it is like for artists at the moment to be working in a pandemic environment across borders. Congratulations, this is an enormous commission from the National Gallery. Tell me about the process over the last 18 months or more.
We really fortunately that when we proposed the idea of the Solaris is the 1st of January. So when we talk with the team of from the NGV that we want to do this work of Solaris based on the Kakaban Island in the Kalimantan. So at the time we went to this Kakaban Lake near the Kalimantan Island. It's like 10 hours from our city, Bandung. And then we done it, the trip just right before the lockdown, the pandemic hits Indonesia. And then, yeah, after we process, after we've been through this process of making this work, because for this work, we tend to take a different point of view, seeing the issue of climate change from the perspective of jellyfish. And then after we finish making this work, we realized how important for us as a human to re-looking again our relationship with nature. Yeah.
And through that process, what did you learn?
I think if we look into how this jellyfish been evolved through all the time, because this is the Kakaban Lake, is a prehistoric lake. These species have a long time of history, I think before us.
Like prehistoric, yeah?
Prehistoric. This is the lake, the prehistoric lake, and then they just survive, and then they evolve because this is one of the jellyfish that they don't have this sting.
So they are all the jellyfish inside the lake are stingless jellyfish. So they don't have any sting because inside the lake they don't have any predators left.
Wow! So you can swim with them?
Yeah, we can swim with all the jellyfish, and then there's thousands of them. Yeah.
What does that feel like on your skin?
It's like
it's a funny feeling because they are so soft, and so fragile.
Yeah.
So we're not allowed to use sunscreen if we go to the lake, and we cannot use like fins for our legs. Otherwise, it will cut the jellyfish.
So they are protected species?
Yeah, in a way, they're quite protected because it's a special jellyfish because they're stingless. Because if you swim in the ocean, like, and I read in the internet, like in Australia, it's quite dangerous. Like they have like the box jellyfish.
Yes.
The death rate is quite high in Australia.
Actually, not just the box jellyfish. We have another one that's very, very common called the blue bottle jellyfish. And I have a very big scar on my arm just from this year. Yeah. So I think there's this connotation for us that jellyfish are dangerous.
Yes. Okay.
But you're talking about very friendly jellyfish that are very, very old species. How long does one jellyfish live for?
I think it's we're not sure about this jellyfish, but the lifespan is quite short. I think, if I'm not wrong, it's probably around days or weeks from the jellyfish to get their lifespan.
That's amazing.
If I'm not wrong. Yeah, we have to check it out again.
So let's talk about your work, your artwork a little bit, because you found this incredible story, narrative about this creature, this jellyfish that is providing this link from the human to the natural world and is telling us about our impact, right? Human impact on the natural world and climate change and how we are playing a part in that. What made you start this kind of trajectory of thinking? What has drawn you to environmental issues with your work?
Maybe it's coming from our trip to one of the mall in Jakarta in the late 2016. So in 2016, there's a new mall open up in the West Jakarta called Neo Soho. And then this mall, actually, they have like entertainment space called Jakarta Aquarium. So they built like a huge aquarium inside the mall, and then we went to that place. But what we found out inside the space, there's like penguin enclosures right inside the restaurant. So the concept is like you're dining, having a seafood or maybe like a Western food, and then you could see this like huge enclosures of penguins, like they swims and then they play. But what really attract us to this penguin enclosure is that on the background of these enclosures, there's a video, like a looping video of a waves, like a wave crashing for like maybe like a 30 seconds looping of wave crashings. And then for us, it's really it's really intriguing us about how human sees natures, and then how they try to force an animal to see like a moving image of waves crashings into the backgrounds. And then we saw that as a part of a human dominance in the natures, and also a human's imaginations about how they could perceive natures nowadays. So it's really make us thinking. And then afterwards, we're starting to using data, and then we're focusing on using weather data. And then this weather data, they start to not manipulating, but they start to activate our works inside the gallery.
Amazing. There's a real empathy about this work. You know, it's almost like you imagining yourself as this creature inside this aquarium or tank. When you described the waves crashing, it feels quite violent to me. You know, if you were that creature in there, this is unnatural and quite frightening. Amazing. And tell me, this work for NGV, it's a neon curtain. Why did you choose this medium for the presentation of Solaris?
Because during our research, we found like there's this LED curtain that could display moving images, but at the same time, people can touch the material. Like people can go through the material and open. It's a very flexible medium to show moving images. But the sad part is because of the pandemic, like people are not
Not
allowed
allowed to touch.
to touch the artwork. But for us, because the early idea is like, because we're talking about the relationship between the sun and the environment, and how if we could touch the sun, how we could like the the world that we create digitally could people could touch it, like this is also a tangible thing.
Yeah, I want to add into Rudy explanation. When we see this LED curtain, we see how technology nowadays bring nature closer to us. And then this LED curtain is the current technology advancement, how nature can be represented in the human world.
So interesting. And I love also that there's this idea of tactility. You know, you've been swimming with these jellyfish, then you've created this environment where you're encouraging people to, in a non-pandemic world, come into close proximity. But also somehow this curtain feels like the tentacles of a jellyfish as well, and has something about movement in it. It's very creative. Have you used this technology before? And I mean, could you make your work without technology?
Yeah, of course.
Really?
But nowadays, no. I mean, if it come into the art making, we don't want to attach to the technology. Of course, we can use drawing and everything beside that this video of moving image. But our current interest, the last 5 years, we would like to elaborate how this technology media affect our perception toward nature. So that's why we try to explore a different medium, and then the reason one is a video game, like in the Solaris.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we made our works using game software. This is the first time. But before, like our previous work, we already did work using the weather data as an input. And then, but this time it's like truly the weather is like really controlling the ecosystem inside the works itself.
It's so innovative, your work. I'm intrigued to ask you, who are your inspirations in the art world? Are there other artists that you look to and are inspired by?
There's so many, I think, because because it's like when we go to the exhibition, or when we sing a movie, there's like some part that really triggers or leave a marks in our mind. But of course, three of us have a different approach how we talk about when we talk about ideas, or how we respond to each other ideas.
That's amazing. We're getting a lot of questions right here. So Brendan's going to jump in.
Yes, thanks, Pippa.
Before we do, Brendan, I just want to say that, like you take inspiration from others' work and other artists, you have just influenced a whole generation of new Australian artists and audiences at the NGV with this work. So thank you very much for doing that. It's a very important contribution to the sector and the conversation.